All right. Good morning. We are PPSDC, professional photographers of San Diego County, and we will be doing our image critique this morning. And these are images from our members to help us grow. We're going to put this on our YouTube channel. I am the president, Michelle Pennings, and I've got our vice president, Cindy Wolf, who will be helping me with the critiques. So let's see, I'm going to share my screen here. The other thing too, remember in image comp, everybody, I just had a really funny experience. I have one image that I love of one of mine. I've entered at 3 different image competitions. And I got really high scores on this image in 2 competitions. I was the highest I've ever gotten, like 95, and 2 judges gave me 100. And I got all excited. So I entered it in our state competition and thought, yes, this is going to do so good. They gave it 78s and 79s. So you know what? Not all judges are going to get it. Like some judges loved it, some didn't. So take that with a grain of salt. And with that, let's share my screen. Okay, we're going to share here. All right, can you guys all see that? Yes? No, maybe so?
I can.
All
Yes.
right, so here is our first one. There's no title. So that's the first thing too. It's when you're submitting the image comp, the title is really important. And then the first thing we look at is impact. So when this comes on, it's like, wow, she is beautiful. I love the impact on this. The other thing the first thing I do as it's coming through and you're judging, you get to see it just as it is. You don't get to zoom in and zoom out. You look at the image in the size. The judges have about 10 seconds to evaluate it, the first evaluation, and put in a score. Then they can sit on it and talk about it. They can challenge it. So my initial thoughts are, wow, this is beautiful. This pose is really pretty. I'm thinking that the light, so when I'm looking at her, I do go to her face, but she seems very bright. My computer screen is calibrated. The judges' screens will be calibrated. So the first thing that I can tell you to help, and what I'm going to say is I'm going to help this image to get higher. And this is the critique that you might get if you did submit an image to image comp, is I would definitely, in dodge and burn, I would definitely tone down her skin. Her hair light is beautiful. It separates her. I love the background. I like a little bit of light on her skirt. I kind of want to go down here and look at her leg a little bit. I like that the color tones are all in the same family. A lot of times when we see skin tones, you'll get a greenish skin tone or a like a blue cast or something. I like her skin tones. And I'm going to talk quick and throw out a bunch of stuff for you guys so that you have a lot to work with. The other thing for me, the crop, it's a little bit tight down here on her foot. I would like a little more room down there. And her hand positioning is beautiful. I think if you could have posed her again, and this is the other thing too, when we're doing dance, I don't know dance poses, and a lot of judges don't understand dance poses. So to me, this pose is beautiful. I think maybe I would have turned her maybe 25 degrees more counterclockwise so that her nose right here is almost falling off her face. And so if you had positioned her for, I'm sure the client thought this was amazing for image comp. I don't think I would count you down on the pose, but if you did do it again, I would turn her just slightly more towards the camera. Cindy, go for it.
I agree with everything that Michelle said. Normally, I would say that the skin is hot. Maybe shoot this down a half a stop. I would also say too, normally that I wouldn't highlight the leg so much, but because she is a dancer, I see the point of that. That said, the brightness of her arms, I think, is where you'd be dodging and burning. I totally agree with what Michelle said about turning her face a bit. The color harmony is beautiful. All of it's beautiful, and it is a bit tight. Pardon me. So I agree with everything that she said, and I guess my taste or my style would be, because her leg is the highlight, maybe not so much on the arms, which is sculpting with light. That, and on her face. So
You
I
could,
agree.
you could also, that's awesome, Cindy. Good feedback. You could title it something with that, because my attention keeps going to the leg. You could title it something that involves the leg. And so that makes it to where, it's, it's purpose. You want to have intent and you want to have purpose when you're doing this. And so if you're drawing attention to the leg like you are in this, then maybe title it something, because titles are very important. You don't want to just say dancer with leg out. Or the name of the studio was I'm gonna say this wrong, the pas de whatever. I'm sorry, dancers. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if this is like, does everybody know what pas de is, pas de deux? Or you could say like London Royal Ballet. Well, okay, that's great, but what is that telling me? So like you could title it something about I don't know, I'd have to think on this. She looks like she's deep in thought and she's really thinking about something. Maybe she's thinking about the pose, but something to bring the leg into the title would be really helpful. Okay, and I forgot to time everything.
Michelle, there's a comment in the chat
Okay.
about not being comfortable with the critique on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, let me think about that then. I'll record it and then see what that person's ones. I will save those to the end, and I can turn off the recording if that works for that person. Does everybody else want this recorded? Because normally we record all of these. So, okay. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to move to the next one. I'm going to close that one. All right. Okay, this one again doesn't have a title. Another really pretty model. I like this. I like the lighting on her. The lighting is very nice. I like the shadows in an image competition. They, when we're shooting women or people 30, 40s and up, the thing right now is flat lighting so that they doesn't show their wrinkles. In image competition, you will get dinged for flat lighting. And so I really like that she's got some shadows sculpting her face. That's really great. I like the pose. The first thing I notice about this that I think I can help you is I feel like the horizon, I feel like she's tilted. I feel like the table's tilted and she is tilted. So I would straighten that up. I do like how you have this square back here kind of framing her head. That was very smart. It's a little tight in the crop for me up here. I like the color tones. I think if you entered it in the portrait category, I think that would be good. It's not your traditional portrait that people enter into image competition. This is more of a lifestyle client picture.
Commercial.
Yeah, commercial. It is technically good. I think, I don't know, Cindy, does it feel like maybe it's a little bit underexposed? It could be my monitor. And as far as to help you, this is a really well done image. And Cindy, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with everything that you've said. So I am looking at it blown up large. And the first thing my histogram tells me is that the whites are hot. I'm going to guess that's really around the desk. So that said, that would be an area to tone down, because really you don't want the focus to be on the desk. I do agree with you. The books are crooked, And it's really funny in these images, because that was the first thing I noticed, is that I felt off. While the window lines in the background look like they're straight, the books in the forefront are crooked. So I would adjust the crop, not necessarily a crop, but I would tilt it until the books are straight, because that's what's setting the tone for the rest of the image. I like the crop in the front where the other book is cut off. Obviously, this woman has something to do with, I don't know, design or furniture. The colors are beautiful in it. The image on my screen looks very rich. I'm calibrated as well. I would say it would merit. I mean, great connection, great engagement, the color harmony throughout. No matter where my eye goes, it comes back to her. But again, definitely straighten those books, tone down, dodge that, or excuse me, burn that desk down. Because
Oh,
again, that the histogram is blown out.
yes. Sorry, I'm playing with the image as you're talking, Cindy. That's all excellent. I kept thinking this was a spot on my monitor, but I would clean that up. It's something on the desk. My eye keeps going to that little fleck right there. The other thing that you can do is I take my images and I go in really far. I go out really far and I look to see what can I see. So I see all this bright here. So that's how another thing, you go far and close, or you can take your image and you can rotate it, flip it upside down. And what do you see when it's upside down? My eye is still going to the desk. And then when I go like this, and so you want your eye to go to the person. So that's what I would, yeah, good feedback. I hope the maker was okay with that. Let me double check. Oh, and
Let me add one thing on
yeah.
the catch lights on your subject's eyes. I entered an image in competition, and it was a natural light image coming from window light, like this is. And on your subject's eyes on camera right, you'll see 3 different lights. I had a judge look at my image that I entered of a child in window light, and the judge actually said in front of everybody, "Nice backyard, great pool. You have too many catch lights, and I don't want to see the detail in what's happening in your yard." So just throwing that out there.
All right. Hold on. I'm looking up really quick for the person who doesn't want the images to be critiqued online on YouTube. Let me double check to make sure their submissions aren't. Okay, I'm going to take them out for right now. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Uh-oh, what did I just do? Okay. All right. We have Felicia. Well, she is beautiful and powerful. I love this. Cindy, you want to go first?
Sure. I love the image. She looks amazing. And I will tell you what has happened to me in image comp is that her skin looks impeccable. And that was the first place that I myself had the hardest critique. Maybe she does really look like that. And the image I turned in, the person really did look like that. And yet I was marked down because of the editing on the skin. So with mature women, I'm sure she loved this. I'm sure commercially she's using this. But with mature women, be careful for PPA image comp as to what you do on the skin in regards to any kind of frequency separation or cleaning up imperfections. The other thing about the image is that when I look at it, for PPA, I would say for her pose, give her more distinction in her body. The jacket says she's powerful. The color palette says she's powerful. The head up says she's powerful. So that saying, your title and your presentation are going to go along with that, because typically women are posed with some sort of angular movement, and this is almost male posing. So that, again, that and the cutoff in the forearms, for a PPA competition, if you have another image of her where her shoulders are more angulared, one shoulder is up, one shoulder is down, her chest is either towards or away from the camera a bit more, and the chin is down, you're going to have a different demeanor in the photograph. So if you enter competition as is with this, then you're going to have really showing more of a masculine pose according to subliminal posing. That and the crop on her arms. Watch the crop there.
Very good. Yeah, with with Professional Photographers of America and all that, with the cropping, like they always say, you know, you don't crop it where it bends, wrists, elbows, that kind of thing. All the other things that I can add to this image is this one earring right here is super bright, and my eye keeps going to that, and right here to her collar. You've handled the light well. I do see some shadows on her face, which is good, and that sculpting the light could, like, if she's a very powerful woman, you could have gone with a little more directional sculpting light to give it more of a story. But I know for her skin and everything, this woman probably absolutely adores this image. But burn this earring down a little bit, kind of tone down her jacket a little bit. I love the separation. There's a little bit of hair light separation, which is good. A lot of times when we see an image with a dark background and dark clothing, sometimes it can look like a floating head, and this is not that. So that kudos to you for that. That's very good. The other thing, you know, when you pull it away, I still see that earring, make it close. And then if we turn it again, yeah, this is beautiful. Good job. But you can still, you see what I'm doing with that. So I encourage you to do that to your images, and then check your images. This, you know, needs to go away, needs a presentation. But good job. All right. I'm still timing. So let's move to the next one. All right. Let's get rid of Felicia here. Oh, this one's really cool. All right. This one, again, we don't have a title. My first impact, the impact is very strong on this. Like, you go straight to the eyes. This is wonderful. I wish I knew what category you were entering this in, because if it's photojournalism, amazing. If it's portrait, I definitely, if you have not done anything to this image, now photojournalism, you can only dodge and burn, crop. You cannot take anything out. You cannot add anything. So if this image is a pretty straight out of camera image, then it would be amazing in photojournalism. I love the look on her face. Photojournalism is something where you are not supposed to pose your subject. You're supposed to just kind of be walking by, you know, the whole capturing the image without posing. If it is going into the portrait category, the one thing with portrait is you have control over everything. Photojournalism, you do not. But with this one, I do see that her teeth and her mouth and the side of her face, this whole plane is out of focus. And so in portrait, that would definitely be points down, because in portrait, they want to see that the face, you could have a little bit of fall off, but they want to see the teeth, the mouth, both eyes completely in focus. It is a pretty tight crop, which I do like. If you had a wider crop, I might play around with that a little bit if you were going to enter it into the portrait category. The light's handled nicely. Cindy, what are your thoughts?
I think the same things. I agree with everything that you said. So because I'm pulling it up and I have a histogram, you're pretty much dead on your whites or your brightness. And I definitely agree with everything Michelle said. You could add a bit of a vignette just to pull a little bit less from the background and more into the face. Obviously, if this is photojournalism, the background has somewhat to do with it. And that way you get a
And in
little bit more attention to the
photojournalism,
face.
if you did add a vignette, you could do that with Dodge and Burn. That is completely within the realm of the rules. So that is a great suggestion. Anything else, Cindy?
No, it's nice.
All right. Let's go to the next one. All right. This one, Amara. This one doesn't have it. Well, it didn't have a title. So you guys, when you enter your critiques next time, if you enter them like you're going to enter them in image comp with the title on them, we can use that in your critique. So let's see, Cindy, go ahead on this one.
Okay. You've handled the whites brilliantly in this image. There's nothing blown out. Everything, according to the histogram, is great. The flat light. So I'm going to guess this is a commercial image or something that says, obviously, because lab coat that has something to do with this person's job. Now, that said, it appears that her hair is moving. Typically, I would say a fan is great for a woman as long as they're not in their field of work. And the reason being is that in the industry, there has to be a more neutral femininity other than a fan or say like glamour. That said, she looks it looks like a great branding image for her. However, with her lab coat on, I would say the one thing that I question is the appearance of her face, because if she were in a black dress, I would say that then that expression would be perfect. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's lovely. And if she's wearing a lab coat, she's probably knows what she's doing in her field of industry. And there's probably a degree or two or three behind that. And so typically I would, I think for me, the mixed message in this is the expression, because it doesn't match the lab coat. Now, that said, I could be totally wrong, but that is my perspective on the image. That and on your whites, like I said, you did a good job in handling them. You could pull, normally white runs 255, 255, 255 on RGB. And you are shooting this a bit warm. That's not taking away from it. But if it did go to PPA, you may want to just make sure your numbers are sequential. If I tap on her jacket right now, I'm getting 242, 241, 240. So with that, that's color balance, and that's whites are typically 255 straight across for RGB.
Very good. Thanks, Cindy. Yes, I agree with everything Cindy said. Good feedback, Cindy. The only other things that I could add, I feel like the light is super flat for her. In image competition, I'm not sure how well this would do because of the flat lighting. That's my main concern if you're thinking of entering this. The other thing that I think with this woman, okay, when you're photographing women, if you go down the center of her face, you see the right side, the left side. And this, I know this for myself because I have one eye that's smaller than the other. If you had positioned her the other way with the small eye
Oh, yeah.
towards you and the larger eye back, it would like completely the other way for her. It would have been a lot more flattering for her face. She's really beautiful, very beautiful. And this is not bad at all, but I just think when you're thinking about posing, look at the eyes. And she might not even know if she has a good side or a bad side. I do, because I have one eye that is definitely smaller than the other. And I am always like switching myself. So when you're photographing women, that's one thing that you can help them with, just in photographing in general. And then the other thing that I'm looking at is the soft focus, how it falls off right here. If you're entering this in portrait for image competition, that's the other thing. Like when we're shooting this style for commercial is great because you're probably shooting at maybe a 2.8 or I don't know, 4.0, somewhere in there, to where her face is sharp, but then it has fall off over on this side. And in an image comp, as a judge, I'm a lot of times looking for that to be sharp. So that's what we can add for that one. I'm gonna close. Let's see. Yep, we got 5. Okay, let me go back to the images here. And let's see. 1, 2. Let's open 3 more. Ooh, and I'm using the Photoshop beta. Have you guys used that yet? With the generative?
Yes,
Ooh, so fun. Okay.
it's fun, but it sure crashes a lot.
Oh, really?
Yes, I've had it crash in the middle. We're talking 20 layers and boom, bye-bye.
Oh no, that's no bueno. Okay, I'm gonna move over. Let's do a landscape one. We've looked at people long enough. Let's do. All right, Cindy, go for it.
Well, I love landscape because that's where I started. Um, I think this is a beautiful image. And there are rules in landscape for you for portrait photographers is that everything from beginning to foreground to far away has to be in focus. The other thing, this is, I think this said, yeah, HDR edit. Oh, so difficult to get the lights and the darks and have texture in the blacks and not have the whites blown out. And this looks really beautifully done in the HDR. Now that said, the starburst through the trees. I love starbursts, but I think for image competition, this image would have a problem. And the reason I say that is because I was so excited when I first saw this. I pulled it up and I looked at the metadata. Because if you're a landscape photographer, you know that F22 is when you get a starburst. So what does that mean? That means that your ISO is going to be at 50 or 100. You're going to be on a tripod, and who cares how long the shutter's open, you know, and even for the HDR effect. So that said, I think that's where the question would become is if that's real or not. And the people in landscape, or I'm sorry, the judges in landscaping for PPA are very purists. So we don't get that option of adding a starburst. Now we get the green merit, which means they sell all day long because they're stunning. But I do wonder about that. That said, what a beautiful place. What a walk through it. Looking at it, I feel the coolness of the ferns and the grasses and the excitement of being able to be in the shade and going into the light like that. So very well done. And that would be the starburst would be my hesitation.
Very good. Yes, I agree with everything Cindy says. Excuse me. Boy, I can't add much more. I do like the lighting here on the path that brings me in. I think, you still, your darks were handled well. I still see detail. The difference between the light and dark is beautiful. It might be a little bit hot in places, and I think that's what's, saying what Cindy was going on with the sunburst, with being in competition with the lit path. But that's very beautiful. So good job. Let's see here. I don't really have anything else to add on that one. And then Hidden Cove. I want to go there. Being a landscape photographer, so great. The one thing that we learn in landscape photography and with critiquing landscape photography is dynamic symmetry. And I believe this has it. When you look to see, what's leading you into this image, the composition on this is beautiful. It is sharp in the foreground, it's sharp in the background. The time of day is beautiful, and that's the other thing too with landscape photography. You hear a lot of judges are not, oh sorry, went off early. A lot of judges who are portrait judges don't always understand landscape. So Cindy and I worked really hard to take a lot of landscape classes, Cindy starting in landscape, so that we could be really well-rounded. A lot of judges will say, oh, well, if you were standing off to the side a little bit more, well, they don't know, like, you couldn't stand off to the side, you might have or something. So that your perspective that you got here is really fabulous. Where you had your feet was fantastic. The lighting is handled so well, nothing's blown out, the sky is beautiful. It has impact. Now, with that saying, I think to give this image a little more pop, depending on your skills in Photoshop. So that's one thing that I've learned from doing landscape, is that the landscape images, the Peter Licks and the Bennett's and all the people that are winning the awards all over the place with the landscape images, what I've learned from them is they have really worked on their post processing skills. And I think on this one, a little more post-processing would really help this image, to go in and dodge and burn and make some of these trees pop, make the water stand out. It has initial impact, but do I want to keep looking? It has the initial impact, but you want to keep your viewer there to keep them interested in looking around. I'm interested back here in the light. But I think if you did some more, not necessarily clarity, you see a lot of times in landscape photography where they go in and they up the contrast and it looks crispy. That's what I love about this one. It does not have that. It's very nice and sharp, yet it's not crunchy. But I think you could go in and add some more drama to it with a little more light and dark in the bushes and the trees to give it some more pop. Cindy, what do you think?
I agree. I think this image is gorgeous. I love the subtlety of the light and the color palette. It's somewhat in the pastelish realm, I think. I think what she's saying about dodging and burning would definitely, your post-production on this would just rock it. Plus, if you shot in RAW, you're allowed to add saturation and vibrance, because when you shoot in RAW, it doesn't add that. If you shoot as a JPEG, that automatically comes into the image. The camera adds that. The same thing with focus or with sharpening, is that when you shoot a JPEG, it's automatically focused or sharpened, pardon me, but RAW is not. So you have those potentials there to really make this, and it's lovely. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's lovely, but to score high on it. That said, too, the other thing I would check is your horizon line. When I pull this into Photoshop and I put the horizon line down on it, you're sloping left. And that could be the tripod, because I don't think you handheld it at what you were shooting. Yeah, I don't think you handheld it at 20th. Well, you might have handheld it at a 20th. Nah, with ISO of 100, no, you tripoded this. My tripod is horrible at not leaning left. So I've had to change those a number of times just for that reason. So with this, you may want to tweak this a bit to camera right to get your horizon line dead on, because while the world is round, it's not showing round. It shouldn't show round here. It's beautiful.
Very good. All right. Good job, maker. All right, we're back to people. Okay, Cindy, you're on a roll, so keep going, girl.
Oh, I love this. And I want to love it more. And don't get me wrong, I love this. And I think you're onto something, but I'm confused by the not silhouette. I mean, you have two, I think this would have a ton of impact if the images that are where the woman is not lit, if that were silhouette. In other words, you don't see her skin, but it shows to the dark side. Well, it's a pano, so you could run it into that area. But I think impact wise, I think it has great impact. Your whites look pretty darn right on. Sorry, it was me measuring the whites. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it has impact. I think that it has style. It definitely has center of interest with the subject matter. I like the red, black, and white. I think that's crisp and clean. What I would do to make it better for PPA award is the two images that are dark is silhouette them.
Okay,
What do you think, Michelle?
I agree. Okay, so this could go a bunch of different ways for me. I like what you had to say about that. I think the too dark and then the too light as a judge confused me. I do like what you're saying with it being in silhouette. I probably would do that. I don't know if I would pick all of them silhouette or all of them in color. I almost feel like it's confusing with it this way. Or possibly okay, so I'm looking down here at the chair, and like this chair is really close to the line. These three are kind of even. What if you move the chair back on the two darker ones and make the two and that are lit more prominent in the front, maybe? I would play around with this a little bit more. I do like the pano. I feel like this right here with her foot so close, this is really bothering me right here. And this one is a little bit farther, like that the chairs are not even. You could straighten those up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I love their creativity. I love what you got going with it. I think that it needs to be reworked just a little bit. Try out different positions with these chairs. What would happen if you moved her back or you did the silhouettes or
Kept them all on the same plane.
back, or even I just feel it's so tight right here for me. And even on here, I just want to see more space. She's dancing on this chair. She's moving around. Let's give her a little bit more room. Yeah, and as I'm going around, I feel like if it's bold, and I agree with you, Cindy, that you either need to go all the way or not at all. And I feel like she's kind of halfway with the way she's lit.
Well, even so, I'm playing around with this. Don't mean to offend the maker, but it's fun. It's just a fun image. And I agree with you. Because I was so involved with the people, it is too close to the bottom. So maybe extend that white floor. But I just put it in black and white, darken the blacks. And then if you pulled one in color out of that, how fun would that be? Now, that's just me playing. I'm just looking at how to get this, what the judges would say as far as doing well at competition.
Yeah, it's a great high key. I like the lighting on her. It's done really well. Um, this one right here, the judges, okay, so one thing that judges look for, and we call them zombie eyeballs. So if you look at her eyeballs right here, she is looking, it's not a true profile, which it's funny because since I've been in photo world and competition the last probably 4 years, it's funny because I've seen judges really relax on the whole profile thing. Like things are changing, and I think is good. They're not sticking with the old traditional, like I know we do say, okay, her nose has fallen off of her face a little bit. That doesn't bother me. That you can see a little bit of this eye right here doesn't bother me. Now in the old world, the old PPA where they were kind of stiff and stuff, that would have been like, nope, that would not merit you. But the zombie eyeballs where you see so much white, that's a little bit, if she had just turned her face and looked a little bit, but I don't think that's going to count against you. But if you did have another image of her where she was tilted a little bit, that might help. I'm just throwing all kinds of stuff out there. Because we are critiquing, we are trying to give you some ideas to make them better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is great. We've given you a lot on this one, so I can't wait to see what you do with it. And I want to see this come back up again. All right, let's go pick out what else. Okay, you know what I'm going to do really quick? I'm going to pause the recording so that we can look at the one the images for the person that does not want to be on. All right, let's do this. Let's see. All right, we're going to open these. Let's do a pet. Oh, I love dogs. My kids will say my favorite thing is dogs in photography. Look at this pup's face. I love it. It's so cool. I don't know it's funny listening to image competition when a dog comes up, the judges just go, oh, I love it. I love the action you caught with this. The colors are nice. It's funny because a lot of times in image competition, they'll say, take the collar off, it's taking away. But in this case, the yellow of the collar and the yellow with the flowers and everything just really work. I'm going to zoom in a little bit with pets and dogs and animals. It's so hard to get the face all sharp and in focus. And I think you nailed it with this and the expression. I like how this leads you in. I almost feel like with the bokeh, I almost feel like the bokeh is maybe too much. I'm looking at the plane. You've got it's a little bit confusing here. That's the one thing. Like I see the plane right here of the dog. So this one might be on the same plane as the dog where it's in focus, but then it's kind of deceiving because I've got these ones down here in focus and this in focus, and then this is out of focus. So that's one thing that a judge will look at, and if they're confused, you could end up with points down. But then we've got like the dust kicked up here, so I think that's why these legs aren't in focus. So that makes sense to me. Cindy, help me out. What do you think about?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, that's the hard part about shooting bokeh is what the judges are going to say about it, because there's a lot of presumption nowadays with it. I love the image. I love the yellow and black. I agree. The collar adds it pulls everything together for the image. That said, I think that I think you could add a little bit more contrast or burn him in her maybe in some spots. Love the catch lights in the eyes. That was a good one. But just to make, because there's so much color, the yellow adds to it. It doesn't take away. If it was blue, I would say, oof, that's rough. But in this instance with the dog, I would say maybe add a little bit of contrast to her just to get her to stand out a little bit more. Because if you burnt down the path, I think that would be too noticeable. So your color palette would be as is. But I think, I mean, first look is great impact.
Yeah. The other thing is like the dead center composition. Personally, I don't think I don't stick to the rule of thirds on everything. Like it just doesn't have to be rule of thirds where the dog, is over. But I think this one, dead center, I almost feel like a little bit off to the side would help with it. Or I'm looking at like maybe play around with the crop on it to see if a different crop, let's see.
Do you mind if I ask something?
Sure.
Perfect. The crop is definitely what I struggle with on this one, because I feel like with the way the path leads down, I feel like no matter which angle I went with, it was almost like the flowers felt too heavy. And so, yeah, I'm glad you guys are talking about that, because I feel like my gut is to not have a dead center, but it felt off to me when I didn't, when I tried something else.
That's a hard one. So I would play around with it. So normally when we look at an image, because we're in America, we lead in left to right. Some of the other countries do right to left. So then you think about, there's all the laws of symmetry where you have the line of grace, which goes from the lower left to the upper right, which is supposed to be pleasing. And then they say they have they have like the good line is left to right going up, the evil line, and they have all these, like they call them Abagio, and all the painters have all the names of
circle
and then the sinister line is the line that comes from the top left going down. But I see the struggle. I don't know if all of this over here is doing anything for it, so I might do a tighter, like make your subject the center of interest. I would play around with it. This one's a little bit, I don't know. What do you think about that, Cindy?
I'm doing the same thing, so I totally get it.
It's hard when you're doing environmental pet images in image comp, because you'll get half of the judges. It's kind of like a wild card. Half of them will say, oh my gosh, I love this, is great. And the other half are going to say, they're going to argue about these bushes, which is so funny because for myself as a judge, I'm like, I'm not going to go in and really dissect whether or not these are on the plane. I want to kind of get those out so that I'm focusing on the dog, so that the judges don't argue about what focal plane all of these flowers are on. I think to get rid of it, some more of the yellow and bring it more into the dog would probably help you.
Okay.
Play around with the crop.
Perfect. Thank you.
I love it. You're welcome.
Another thing is maybe do some dodging and burning. That would differentiate your flowers and your pup, which is where the contrast would come into the pup. But even being able to
make the dog pop a little bit more, go in and like accentuate in here with your post-processing. If you did crop it down this tight, like I would get rid of this right here, this anything that's distracting and taking away from your subject. You want the environment and everything around it to add to your story, and then a really fun title with this will help, and then a presentation. So like, and don't go crazy, you guys, with your presentations. Less is better, simple, like a little soft key line that's maybe the color of this with a black or a dark background. Oh, I gotta sneeze. I better, hold on.
Bless you.
Oh, see, those flowers made me sneeze. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let's go to the next one. We are not going to save that. Oh, more photojournalism. I want to go travel with you. You see the most interesting people. This is so cool. All right. Cindy, go for it.
Well, I mean, I would really want to know. I'm assuming it's photojournalism. So if it is, the critique can be around that. So in photojournalism, she let you take this picture because look at those eyes. So I would say, I understand your crop, but I don't think I would have cut off her shoulder and her camera left arm elbow. Even though you have the crux of the image, there's an uneasiness. Now, maybe that's what you wanted was uneasiness, but I think in PPA, you'll get dinged down. Now, that said, too, on your post-production, your blacks are so black, there's no separation. And you want to watch that with her because it's, so what I'm doing is I have this in bridge and I'm enlarging it and changing it to see what's back there.
Well, and then I'll comment too as you're doing that.
Go ahead.
So in photojournalism, we still want everything to be sharp, and the baby isn't sharp. We lose focus of the baby. So it's not like you can go back and take another picture. I mean, it's wonderful, but for an image competition, those are the things that they're going to look for and see how like her face blends into this. So if you can go in and look at the raw file, and if there is anything to bring in some more detail in here, but that the baby, her head and everything, the mom's the main center of interest because she's sharp, and you really want it to be the whole thing. And if you could have a little bit looser crop and not cut off her head, not cut off her arm or her hand, but it depends. Maybe you were in a really tight, same thing as landscape, you know, you're going to fall off the cliff. Were you in a tight hut with her and you were really close up, and this is the image that you could capture? I mean, it's really great, and it does tell a fantastic story. But for image competition, it does have some things that could be improved. Is any other final thoughts there, Cindy?
No, I think you're right. I mean, looking at her face, just trying to gauge what story you're telling. Is that pain? Is that what is that expression? You know, that the fact that she allowed you to take this, or you just took it, and then the story that you're trying to tell with this. But you do want the whole thing with focus. Now, maybe you shot this in RAW and there's another image similar that might be at a different f-stop, or possibly you could, depending on the category you're going to enter it in, you could sharpen it up. But that said, when you no matter how, when you get something like this and you're trying to tell someone else's story or the story you're experiencing, just keep in mind, try to get more data than you could use, because you can crop it. It's hard to make it work the other way. And, you know, that's a duh statement, but being in the moment, it's tough, and it's something to train yourself for.
Very good. Good job, Maker. All right. Oh, we have a presentation. Yay. I love it. A nice presentation. It's simple. It's brought in the colors of the image. So good job on the presentation. I like her. You captured a really cool moment. I'm gonna put this. I'd put this in the photojournalism category if if you haven't done anything to it, I mean, photojournalism, you can't take out other surfers in the background. If you did, then you would put it in the illustrative category. Let's see, another photojournalism again, you can't go and do anything crazy. I feel like this probably was an overcast day, but it feels a little bit underexposed to me. Cindy, you're the one that you got the histograms up and all that good stuff. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, it's actually pretty much dead on.
Is it? Okay, then it must be the overcast day.
I take that back. There is a little bit of shadow clipping, but that's it. I mean, it's pretty much all centered.
Yeah, I think this is a great photojournalistic image. It tells a good story. She did good. She's excited about, whatever wave she caught. And boy, yeah, I don't know what I could tell you to make this image better. What about you, Cindy?
I think I would lighten the shadows a little bit. And I know that sounds, yeah, I think I would lighten that. And I think I would change the color of the presentation. The presentation is important. Think formal picture, formal anything, right? That you want to keep the eyes inside the box that is the actual image. So your dark score, your key line is good because it somewhat tries to do that, but I think going with a darker image on the outside of it would help.
You think that would draw you in? Because I
Well,
kind of like how they use the colors. But,
well, the problem I have is that I'm constantly trying to figure out where the color of the presentation matches the water. So if it were darker, I wouldn't. Light attracts, dark subtracts. So the dark keeps you into a box, whereas light draws your eye. That's why I would suggest the presentation to be darker, because I don't want to, it's a subtle subliminal thing of trying to keep somebody's attention someplace else.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because initially, like, I would look at it, I wouldn't do any points down or anything for that. Let's see. I'm just playing with it here to see what a different. Oh, no, we want 4 pixels. Why is it at work? That's weird. Okay, Cindy, what's going on with my Photoshop that I can't pick the color? Oh, there we go. All right, let's pick. Okay, and then canvas size. Always go to inches. So do you think like I just picked the color of her shorts. Something more like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, you'd maybe a little wider. I just picked 3 inches. I wasn't sure what, but
Sure.
yeah. So, okay. So you can see how that brings you into the image a little bit more. So that's what we're saying on doing a presentation. I did like the lighter presentation, but now that I see the darker and see, now you can see how judges will get on a panel and start arguing about, well, I like the lighter, well, I like the darker, but they can't do what we just did in the middle of image comp to see what it would. That's why we need to do that with our images beforehand. Try the different colors and see what it looks like. But all right, good job. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Oh, my thing is blocking. Okay, we did that one. We did that one. Let's see who else. We did that one. Where? Okay. And I'll go through and make sure we get everybody's. It's 10:11. Okay, we're making good time here. Come on, Photoshop. What's going on? Oh, there we go. All right. Here we go. We have this guy in the desert. I think I recognize that guy. Okay. It's interesting. I like it. I want to know what category, maybe illustrative category for this. I like the presentation. Definitely keeps me in the image. The shadow is cool. The harsh light is cool. I'm not quite sure what story it's telling. I think some of the whites are pretty hot on his arm. I'm going towards his arm. I maybe would tone that down a little bit. I think a good title would be helpful with this because I want to know what's going on. I think it's cool that the footprints are just leading him. Maybe there's not a lot of people. It's desolate. The profile is good. I'm not sure. I think Cindy, I need you to help me on this one. I'm not sure what I could tell the maker to make this better. I'm not sure in image competition, in illustrative. I don't know. I'm stumbling around with this one. Help me out here, Cindy.
I'm stumbling too. So I have to go back to the 12 elements, which I have right here on my screen. And the first one is impact. And it's the sense that one gets upon viewing an image for the first time. Compelling images evoke emotion, or they can all, and yeah, they evoke emotion. The second one is creativity. The third one is technical excellence. So I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out, because I believe images speak. So what's the story? So in that regard, it would be judging a black and white, because I can't, and really your titles, you're leading a judge. I want you to look here, or I want you to understand this. So in looking at this image without those things other than autos in Death Valley, then I'm wondering, so what is the maker trying to tell me? And the black and white, I think that was a good call, because I think the sand color and the flesh tones would be too much. I think that your border or your presentation is right, because it's very stark, and your image is somewhat, you're stark. It's the desert. Let's say it's what, 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, because of the shadow, depending on if it's morning or night. So I'm kind of in that, I'm kind of in the same thing as you are, Michelle. I don't know what else to say other than lucky Otto, we got to go to Death Valley.
Yeah. So I'm technically like the other, like when you say composition of the 12 elements, the composition seems good, the presentation seems good, the color balance is good, the lighting with that harsh lighting, like I said, his arm is bright, the blacks in here, we're losing some detail, subject matter, storytelling. So think about all those things when you enter into image competition. What are the judges going to say? And you use your judgment. If you love it and you just want to go for it, then throw it in there. If you think, wow, does it really have a story? Is it really telling me something? That's what we have to think about when we're entering these images into image competition. And depending on the image competition, I mean, if you're entering this into Palm Springs Photo Festival or something that's more of a think outside of the box. PPA is kind of an inside of the box. Again, like what we said in the beginning, know your your playground. If you're going into a more free thinking, it's just about, whoa, this is super cool visually. And then a different competition might work better for an image like this. It just all depends on that. All right. Oh, we got another pup. I love it. I want to go hang out with you and all these dogs. I love it. Sometimes they don't complain like the people do. They're just happy. So my initial thought is, okay, I love the dog, but I think, okay, let's break this one down. I think for this one, I lose this dog in all of this foliage. And so my eye is just going right here to these plants. And then I'm like, wait, where's my dog? And then we've got this cute little scarf that the dog has on, but it's in a completely different color harmony than the plants. And then we've got this, there's just a lot going on here. So let's talk about the crop again. I think your subject is this dog. I think that you could get rid of all of that and just really hone in on your dog. Let's see. And I think this pup is sharp. I do think the whites were a little bit bright. You're losing some detail with the whites. I'm distracted a little bit by this foliage here. I'm sure the owner absolutely went nuts over this because it's so cute. An image competition, I'm not sure about this one. Cindy, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I agree. I bet the owner loved it, especially if they, if this is a special place to them. On the histogram, your whites are correct. The only black spot that's too black is inside the dog's nose, which bravo for you. I cropped it horizontal and put the dog on the 1/3 camera left and kind of made it symmetrical so that you do have a little bit of flower on the left to keep to frame him from the one side. But in that regards, he's more primary subject. I do think a layer of burn would be a really good idea on this, because then you could really get into painting the details, so to speak, on him as far as making things more defined. Now, when I say dodge and burn, I don't mean the tool dodge and burn. I mean by adding a layer, putting that, making a copy of your existing layer, putting that layer to multiply, and then putting a black mask over that, and with a low opacity white brush going in and painting in darkness in certain areas. So it really defines around under, it'd be like eyeliner on his eyes, and different, darkening some of the plants that are a bit bright. So that's what I mean by that. Oh, look at there. Now you're seeing the back door to the editing pro.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
Oh, I do.
okay, so I just did a little bit about what Cindy said to do. There's after. Just slightly. Makes that dog stand out a little bit. I mean, that was like
Yeah.
the 2-second deal in the crop that we did on it. All right. Yeah. Do you have any questions? Are we good with that?
Fun place.
All right.
Thank you. I'm good.
All right. We've got another. Wow, look at those eyes. Okay, Cindy, go for it.
Okay, hold on. I'm pulling it up. Whoops, there she is. So the blacks are, I would lighten their shadows. Only because they're showing up as too black on the histogram. Beautiful one little girl. Look at those eyes and wonder, where are you? Now, see, I look at her and I see hopelessness. I could be totally wrong, but that's just the expression of her face for me. So then if I'm going to title this, what story do I want to tell about her? Because she may or may not be hopeless, but what compelled you to take this image? And then title it something compelling in that emotion that grabbed you when you first saw it. I love that you didn't cut anything. You kept her body parts intact. You cropped her at an acceptable place. The lines in the background, you've somewhat framed her in with the with the vertical bars. A presentation around this would keep your eye in instead of, oh, look, the bars just went to the end of the image and bonged into the side. So I think a presentation would be good. I would definitely make it not black. I would keep it in a darker color to keep your eye inside. And she's light enough, and with what she's got on, that you can't get past the face. For me, I can't get past the face. I wonder, yeah, beautiful face. I wonder, yeah, you're gonna have to tell me how you get that to happen, because mine, I'm in Bridge, but it's not doing that. I'm having to control plus and minus to get it to move. My Zoom.
Because I'm looking at it small to see what the shirt is pretty bright. And so when I go small, like all I see is the shirt. So maybe burn down the shirt slightly. I mean, it's not overexposed, it's handled well, but
Yeah.
it's just really dominating the image with the shirt. Yeah, this is beautiful. And when you're doing photojournalism like this, it's hard to critique a photojournalistic image because if you're out there raw and in the wild, you're just trying to capture life. And I think you did a really good job with this. If this isn't photojournalism and it's portrait, I'm going to look at it like a portrait image now, not a photojournalistic image. Like the green on her bracelet distracts me. Tone down her shirt, but I don't think this is a portrait. This is photojournalism. So you wouldn't do that to this, but it's good job. I like this one a lot. It definitely tells a story. All right, let's go to this one. So I like this. This is I like the whole art, like where do I look? The whole, it's kind of artistic as far as the vines of life, or what I think it says, remnants of life well lived. That's what this, so this one does have a title, if that's what your title is. It has dynamic symmetry. I see this line leading in, this line leading into this root system. Where I think this one can get better, technically, the impact, I'm not so sure with I like the crop. With the impact, it does have impact. I'm looking at it technically, the light is really flat on this one. So I am not sure if a different time of day would have been better. There's not a whole lot of shadows. The color tones are very muted, and there's not a lot of impact that's keeping me here. Again, post-processing in a photojournalistic, or I'm sorry, in a landscape image is important. It's just kind of flat to me, and I'm just not sure. My eyes going all over the place. I want to come into this stump here and like be drawn in, but I'm still distracted by all this foliage down here and then this green down here and this up here. There's no highs, there's no lows. The balance, the color balance, you know, when you go back to the 12 elements, creativity, style, composition, presentation, color balance, center of interest, lighting, subject matter, technique, storytelling. Ask yourself all those questions when it comes to this image and start from there. If you are going to stick with it, then some dodging and burning. So like bring out these branches, you can go in and paint some shadow, some highlight, some color tone. You could bring these browns a little more rich, the greens a little more intensity, some dark through here. Cindy, what can you add to that?
Oh, I agree with everything you've said. And I'm looking at it because I love, it is flat. I love the tree or whatever this is, the bush, whatever it was. I love the starkness of it, even though that there's life around it. And I think that dodging and burning would help, but I'm also looking at it from a perspective of as dodging and burning it, and then I'm opening it back up, whoops, in camera raw, because I think converting it to black and white after you did that would be pretty impressive.
That would help. You're right.
So you create a layer that's green and you put a black mask on it, and you create a layer that is multiply and you put a black mask on it, and you take your paintbrush and you go back in and highlight on screen and darken on the other, but then convert that to monochrome or black and white, and the branches, the starkness of it, the branches pop. And so I think that's where, I mean, you may have a super attachment to it in color, and it is life amongst death, so to speak, but still I think the impact of it with being dodged and burned by multiply and screen, wow, it just made it pop. Even darkening the rest of the scene and then going over all of the branches with your paintbrush in screen, darken the whole scene and multiply, and then go over it in screen. You get this whole new perspective to the image. But black and white's pretty.
Yeah.
There too.
All right. Okay, let me see which ones we have left. What did we did that one, we did that one, tree. Oh, I got that one twice. Okay, did that one, Alicia. Oh, we didn't do this one yet. Okay, let's open that one. And auto, let's see, field of gold. Oh, we didn't do this one. Oh, and I have Melanie's still, okay, I have a few more to add, but let's,
Okay.
We're at 10:30. Oh, we're doing good. Okay, let me get back over to Photoshop. Sorry, my bar for my Zoom bar keeps getting in the way of my tools. There we go. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Right, Cindy. Well, I pull up the other, oh, I can't because I'm screen sharing. Never mind. I was going to pull up the other images while you talked about that one, but we'll have to wait. Okay, go ahead. What do you
Oh,
think?
you want me to talk? I love this. Love, love, love it. The dog is tack sharp. I love the mud puddles behind him. I love the silhouette. Time of day, the low tide, I love this image. That said, I think I would brighten him up just a bit to get him to stand out. And that said, on the histogram, your highlights, let's see, I brought the highlights down just a bit to get it off of the red, and your blacks are a little in the red, meaning too much. And so I'm in bridge, if that helps. Yeah. So I brought it down just a little bit, lessened the shadows, lessened the highlights. Now it's neutral, which you would think it would have started there since both were done. But I love this. I think as a product, what a great image for your website. What a great image for your, for your client. And overall, I would just go through on the pup and brighten him up a little from the background to make him pop a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I don't think I have anything else to add. I just love it. This is great. I like the horizon line, the composition, how you put the horizon. The only thing I wonder, hold on, is this could just be me. Maybe I'm off today, but I almost feel like the horizon is tipping slightly to the down to the left. Am I, Cindy, am I crazy?
I'll tell you in a minute. Since nobody's watching my screen, I'll look.
Let's put guides.
It's off just by a hair.
It's just a hair off. Here, let's see. I can pull this down. It's not
Probably
bad.
because there's a wave that's swelling on the right that might.
I'm crazy. And that's just being a little bit nitpicky. So I
well,
mean,
no, because a judge will see that at PPA. That's where being nitpicky is purposeful, because another judge will see that and go, yeah, not happening.
Yeah. And it's I have a couple friends that I call when I want my images completely nitpicked. Cindy's one of them. And they'll bring up the teeniest of details. Let's see. I mean, they will go in and go, I see this one little thing right here that you might want to get out. And like, maybe there's a thing right here. Like, is that on my screen? Let's see. No. Okay. So
like the little black thing on the white desk.
Like, yeah, like this, I would clean up that. Like, this is being super nitpicky because this image is really awesome. So if I'm going to get in there and completely nitpick it, I'm going to go clean up this. I'm going to clean up this. I'm going to go in with probably this. I'm just going to go. And I'm going to clean up all those little things in there. And that's taking it to a whole other level. But that's what, if you're going to go enter this one into a state competition or, PPA or whatever, then I would go in and do, like, that's what you're going to do. You're going to fine tune this image and nitpick it to death. And like, I'm going to go like, oh, I think this right here, like, we're talking super picky, but that is going to take this image over the top.
Can I ask another question?
Yep.
So with his like running path and how there's marks in the sand, how nitpicky would I get there? Because obviously surrounding areas, I mean, there's mud, getting thrown out in the air.
That I wouldn't.
Sand.
So okay. No, I like, baby, can you see what I'm doing with these little ones in here? Like,
yeah,
these ones, yes, but like these, no, because those go with the story. Those are, he's running and the mud's flying. So no, but okay. I mean, I don't know. I go in like, I'm weird. I go, okay, maybe this one right here, maybe this, like, to smooth it out. But you don't want to lose its authenticity either. And I don't see dust spots on this. A judge could go in and say, oh, well, this looks like pixelation. No, it's not. Like you can totally see that you don't have any banding or anything in it, that your
Right.
sky is smooth, and that this is water. So but then I see these little spots, like that's how picky I would be for an image comp, is go in and take those out.
Yeah, because your hope is to be the cover of the magazine at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
This one could. This one definitely could be, yeah, this one could go pretty high. So I would go like there's something here, here, and here. Oh, now my mouse isn't. Nope, that's on my screen. Never mind. I got the dirty spot on my screen. That's not, in here. So, okay, so this looks like this is mud flying maybe from, this could be mud flying from the dog, but okay. In here, I probably would get rid of it. I would get rid of it in here. And be careful using a big clone tool like this, that it doesn't give you, I'm just doing it for quickness. But that is far enough away from the dog that could be distracting. This mud
Oh,
flying in
yes.
here from the
Agreed.
dog. But this up here probably is mud flying from the dog, but it could be seen as a distraction. So get rid of that. But that's being really picky. So yes, this one excites me. Very cool.
Thank you.
Oh my, you're welcome. All right, we have, this one says Francis Madonna. All right, Cindy, I talked a lot. You go for it there.
Let me get it. So I'm not sure about the Madonna part. Maybe that's her name. So beautiful little girl. Love the placement of her fingers and her hand. Looking at it real close, getting picky. I'm going to guess that's window light, only because of the trails in the whites of her eyes. Now, interesting on the white of her eyes, picky, right? Is that it looks blue. Like maybe there was a treatment or something was done to that, because it looks like they're blue around it in the whites. So watch that, because a judge will comment on that. The histogram is appearing well. So what I'm doing is I'm
I can
playing.
make it.
Yeah, please do.
I'll make some comments too while you're looking at the histogram. The lighting on her face is pretty bright, and I'm not seeing a lot of shadows. I think the shadows I'm seeing are down here, and we're losing some detail. The crop is okay. The crop is nice. Maybe we could have given her a little more space over here. When I talked about the zombie eyeballs beforehand, we're kind of borderline with this one. Although she's kind of like the thinker. I mean, you could title it something. She's thinking, she's in thought. But I think too, with some softer lighting on her, that this could have had a little bit more impact. I'm a big stickler for hand placement. I always tell my models, hands are the devil. Like if you put the hands in the wrong spot, it can just totally ruin. The judges will come in. But I like her little hand there. So I think when I make it big, we've got this right here we could have got rid of. And then there's a line that I'm seeing going across the top here, and that definitely can be corrected. There's almost two different colors up there. And then something else that would help this image is to, she's pretty broad lit. And so if you had short lit her a little bit to where she had more shadows, and then get in there with your post-processing and give her hair some more dimension, dodge and burn that hair and bring out some of these highlights and bring in the low lights. Give her highlights and lowlights, like you took her to the salon, would give it some pop. And then when I pull it away, her face is really bright. And let's turn it upside down. Image rotation. Same thing. When you go in, when you make it that small, her face is just so bright in comparison to the rest of the image. So I think if you shoot with intention, especially portrait, I mean, when you're shooting a portrait like this, you have control over everything. You have control over the lighting, you have the control over the posing. It's in a studio, or maybe you change the background. We're not supposed to speculate as judges. We're supposed to look at it as a whole. But we got a lot of banding in here in the background. And then you could go in on her face and you could darken down a little bit in here on her face. I like the shadow under her chin that sculpts and gives, but just we've got a lot of brightness. So think about that when you're photographing portraits. Do you have anything else to add, Cindy?
Nope, you covered everything. I would give her a
Alright.
little bit of space too.
Yeah, a little
Between
space
rear.
around her.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording again because I need to pull up. All right, let me go back to sharing my screen. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
All right, so this one does have a title and it's called My Father Laughs. Oh, he looks like a fun guy, doesn't he? A sweet guy. I like it. He captured his personality, a fun smile. As I'm looking at it, it definitely has impact when it pops up. The lighting, I like it in black and white, and the lighting is handled well. It really is. You've got some shadows, nothing when we make it small and we go big. I'm not seeing anything lighting wise that is distracting me. It's pretty evenly lit, and I go right to this eye. We get into technicality, so technical when you're photographing portraits. I do like the pose of him. It's a headshot crop, and I like the horizontal. That's different. I think he has enough room and space. Where I'm concerned on this image is the sharpness. It's just not sharp, and that is one thing in image comp that will just kill you right there straight out the beginning. Is they'll say it's not sharp, and it's a fun image. It's a family heirloom image. You're going to look at this in 20 years and have wonderful memories of my father laughing, of dad. But that is going to be your biggest problem right there, is the sharpness. And then we've got some other things going on. We've got some like white spots in the back that I would clean up. I'm moving it around because I want to make sure it's not glare on my screen. But up here and around him, let's see. The light coming in from this way is good. I like that. We got the short lighting on him. But yeah, I think that's your main thing to focus on in portrait, is just make sure that it's tack sharp. Cindy, do you have anything else to add on this one?
No, I think that because of how she framed her question, maybe look at the metadata if there is any attached, and see if, you know, if she shot it in f8, then that would be a camera change, or camera. Oh, you know what I mean? It would be changing the point of focus in the camera. But
There's not any metadata on this one.
there's not. There were a couple that didn't have metadata, which is unfortunate. Y'all should have your names in your cameras, by the way.
Okay, now it won't, it doesn't have a button to get rid of it. Oh wait, it's down here, sorry. The zoom bar, which you guys can't see because it only shows up on mine, it covers up my tools, and then I'm like, hey, I can't see them, so I don't think they're there. So yeah, with this maker, I think always photographing in camera raw gives you more information to tweak. In a portrait, you shooting, it just depends on what style you're going for. You can do an amazing portrait in a 2.8 aperture as well as a 7, 8, up to 11, depending on what your posing is and how you're composing it and all that. Yeah, well, how you're framing it. When I'm doing portraits, my go-to is 7.1 as my aperture because I know everything is going to be tack sharp. And then I still have enough separation from the background, depending on what I'm going for. But I think if you move into an aperture 7.1, 8, something in that range, you're going to have a lot more success in your portrait. So that being said, let's go to the next one. And this one is Reverend of the Boomer Generation. All right, Cindy, you get to go for this one first. I talked about the other one first. You get this one.
Blow it up just a little bit since I'm looking at it on the screen.
Oh, that's right. You don't have this one in the Dropbox.
No,
Let's see. Let's move.
So there's a comment. Lately, I have struggled with images going low res. Can the questionnaire explain that, please?
Oh, she's got her hand up. Yeah, you're muted.
Yeah,
Melanie's muted. Okay. So she said she's struggling with images going low res. So that would be in your camera settings.
yes.
You need to start off in your camera settings with shooting raw. You can shoot compressed, but it depends on, what my camera is 42 megapixels or 60 megapixels. I think maybe you said in your email you had a 20 megapixel, which is fine. That's still amazing. I mean, think about 10, 15 years ago, and when we were film, I mean, we did not have all those megapixels. So you still have enough resolution if you're shooting in 20 to have enough data to get in there. So yeah, you need to look at your camera settings or how you're loading them into Lightroom or Bridge or whatever you're doing. That is it compressing them where you're losing resolution that way, or are you cropping and losing resolution? That's something that we can talk about. Let's see, it's in the chat. Oh, this image went from Photoshop to iPhoto to Affinity to us. So that's how it's losing resolution. Okay.
Oh.
That's what she's saying. She struggled with low resolution. So yeah, every time well, it depends too. Like if you keep your file size and then you move the file size, if iPhoto changes the file size and compresses it, and then Affinity compresses it again, of course you're going to lose resolution. But if you keep the same file size, I'm not sure what those other programs do. So, all right. Do you want to go, Cindy, or do you want me to go? Or
no, go ahead.
well, can you see it well enough on your end?
I can. I'm let's see. I can even see it better now. Let me turn off my light. It's a lovely portrait. I'm looking at it from a laptop. So that's why I wanted to see it. That's why I like having things on my monitors, because I have big monitors.
Well, the other images, you guys, Cindy had them in Dropbox for her monitor. I sent them to her that way. And this image came in late. And so she's looking at it through Zoom like everybody else.
Yeah.
That's why it's a little bit different.
But I mean, for impact, obviously, you know that he's a priest, a man, you know.
Uh-oh, Cindy froze up on us. Okay. Cindy's frozen. So I will critique and then we'll let Cindy unfreeze. So yes, the initial impact of this is great. His smile draws you in. I'm drawn right to his eyes, the brightness of his face. Where it's losing it for me is it's so dark. We're losing all the detail down below. I can't even see anything down here. And we've lost a lot of detail in his hair. So lighting on him seems a little bit bright. I think if you had, he's got a smile on his face. So when you're thinking about lighting somebody with portrait, you need to light appropriate to what their expression is. If he's got a big smile and you're doing some really dark and moody lighting on his face, that is not going to be consistent with his expression. So that you have him bright is great for the expression. I think he's just a little bit too bright. His forehead, I'm just drawn right there. And when you go and you make it small again, you see he's bright. So I think with this, if you, and I'm looking at the catch lights, the catch lights will tell you a lot. It tells me that you had an overhead light, maybe I think maybe this image would have benefited from clam lighting. You can always put a reflector underneath your subject to bounce a little bit of light and then tone down that light up above. The straight on with the shoulder is a good pose. You maybe could have turned him even a little bit more and turned his head a little bit more so it's not so straight on. I really like the separation of him from the background, and the lighting is nice. The vignette back here is really nice. I see his cross on his lapel, which is really good, but where I'm having issues with it is everything is super bright and then super dark, and then this cross really distracts me. So if we had some more even lighting on him, light up his jacket a little bit more so that you could see this, and where this doesn't take me from his face to the cross, face to the cross, that would be helpful. I like that you don't have glare in his glasses. That's excellent. Oh, and look, I like his earring is a cross. That's really cool. This guy's, that's great. I just think with a little bit of tweaks, this one could go higher. I like it in black and white. I think that's neat. Cindy, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, you were frozen for a long time.
Oh,
right.
I've just been sitting here listening. No, you're right on. You're right on.
Because you froze up on us and we couldn't hear anything. So you have anything else to add?
Oh, no, I think you've said it. And you're right on.
Okay. Well, good. Oh, you guys, I'm looking right on. It's 10:58. Woo! We made it on. We got in the time zone here. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and everybody's still with us. So I hope you guys found that to be positive. Everybody's still here. I hope you still like me. I'm gonna
I love you even more, Michelle. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.